makes it cozy and cool. Welcome to Cool Conversations. I'm Lisa Wysocki. I'm the editor for Cool Titles. We are a smaller boutique publisher based in Beverly Hills, California, publishing fiction and nonfiction. And today we're talking with Jayne Zehngut, who has just written this fabulous new mystery called Kepin, An Artist's Blood Oath. So tell me a little bit about the plot of the book. Give me your 30-second elevator pitch.
It's about a Japanese artist who is murdered in Los Angeles, and that it takes two LA female detectives to figure out whether it was forgery-involved murder or whether it was something to do with his history and past. And it is involves a little bit of Japanese art, and it involves a little bit of murder. And yeah, I would say that's the basics.
So if your book were a TV show or a mixture of TV shows, what would they be?
It would probably be Bosch and Cagney and Lacey. I think that would be a good way to put it.
Why would you say that?
Well, I think it's got the Los Angeles that Bosch has and a little bit of the mystery. And I think Cagney and Lacey were two fabulous female detectives. And it's kind of a more modernized twist on that.
Tell us about Kepin and how you got the idea to write the book.
Well, I drive Topanga Canyon every morning on my way to work, and I always thought that this would be a great place for a murder to happen because it's just kind of mysterious and the road is very windy. The idea was that some sort of murder was going to happen. And the way I came up with the idea behind Kepin was there was a artist who was displaying in our gallery. One day I looked at the particular pieces he was displaying, and I noticed that there was a red chop mark in the corner of all of the paintings. And
so tell us what a chop mark is.
A chop mark is basically the signature of a Japanese or Asian artist. And I was looking at this particular piece saying, gee, I wonder what he uses to make that chop mark. Is it, red paint? And then I thought, well, what if he mixed a little blood with it?
Ooh.
And then I thought, well, that would avoid having forgeries. So that's kind of where the whole concept came together.
I love that. And you have some pretty amazing female police detectives in the book. And as your editor, I immediately resonated with that and just dove into that because they're very different. So how did the two characters develop?
Well, I think the first character, we wanted to make her strong. We didn't want to have, a lot of times detectives they have some major character flaw. They're alcoholics, there's something else going on. But we didn't want that. We wanted them to be very strong women. We wanted them to be smart women. And we wanted them to be able to really live in a man's world and excel. So that was the whole idea.
And I love that, particularly because you do go into a little bit about the pressure that they feel as women in a male-dominated world and some of the skepticism that some of the male higher-ups have in their ability to solve this case.
Right, that's very, very true. So we wanted to make them exceptional and be able to compete, but not only just compete, excel at what they did.
Yeah. And, the book is based around the art world. What's your background in there?
Well, I've been in the art world for about 40 years in kind of a sideline, and that's custom framing. So over the years, I've been able to see really every type of artwork. People collect, people gather when they're on vacations, galleries, just a lot of different types of art. And so it's my job as a framer to make sure that the pictures have a simple but appropriate treatment to enhance them.
It's obvious that you know a lot about it because it's, just throughout the book, it's an art-based mystery. But your person who gets murdered is a very famous artist. Was he based on anybody?
He was. Actually, he was based on a customer. I'd rather not say who
Yeah,
that
yeah.
customer was, but it's a particular gentleman that comes in quite frequently. And yes, he was my muse. He was the person that I used.
Yeah, and the art in this particular mystery is Japanese art. Do you have a special affinity for that, or why Japanese?
I think it's just because of the chop mark itself, but I do love the history behind Japanese art and the printmaking process in particular. I think is fascinating.
I think so too, just from what I learned from reading the book. I learned so much. But, this is your first book, hopefully the first of many. And it's hard to construct a well thought out mystery. So what was the hardest part for you of writing the book?
I think it was a learning experience of how to do it. I've never written a book before. I don't really have a lot of experience in that. So a lot of trial and error. I think now that I've gone through it once, I have a better idea of how to construct the book and how to construct the mystery. So I think the hardest part was just learning how to put it together.
Yeah, were there any plot points that you got stuck on or things that you kind of had to rework?
I really wanted the character to have to go to Japan. And that took a lot of work to try. You can't just say, well, I'm just going to go to Japan. There had to be a reason.
Yeah.
And it had to be a very strong reason. So that took a lot of thought and a lot of faults and starts and stops to get it to the point where I thought it really did flow.
Yeah, and you just made a really good point in that if you're writing something, it either has to advance the storyline or it has to give the reader information so that they can help the characters solve the whole mystery.
Right.
And you were very good at being able to do that, particularly for our first mystery. But what were some of the more fun aspects of writing?
I think that I really enjoyed developing the characters, having the characters be fun and interesting, and a lot of personal thoughts went into the characters as well. So, and then we used a lot of names of characters of our family. So there's a lot of family hidden little treasures in there that people who know me would say, "Oh, I know who that is," or "I know who that is." So that was fun.
Yeah, that's a lot of fun. And people say that a little bit of the author goes into each character.
I think that's true.
Yeah. Do you resonate with one character more than another?
Well, I think I probably resonate most with Hercule. I think that she reflects me to a certain degree.
And she's one of the police detectives.
That's correct.
Yeah. And she has a very interesting backstory in that she had a partner of a number of years who recently passed away. And that really kind of drives who she is in this moment.
I think so.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about how you came to give her that attribute.
Well, I had lost my husband, so that was definitely a sounding board for her feelings. And I think that that was probably the main ingredient. I tried to portray her being able to succeed, but still show the grief that she had.
It's hard sometimes for authors to write characters that are very different from themselves. And I think the other detective, Tony, is very different from what I know of you.
Yes, she is.
So how did that come about?
Well, I don't want to say comic relief, but she was more the fun, adventuresome, tech-savvy person. And I think that she's extremely smart, but it's not something that she necessarily puts in your face. She's very different from Hercule, you're right, and I think they make a good partnership, a good match.
Yeah, and I also thought that the dynamic between the murdered artist and his longtime girlfriend and nephew were very interesting. So you were good at leading people to believe at various times throughout the book that, well, maybe it's this person or maybe it's this person, and then you're thinking family members, and then you're thinking, no, maybe it's somebody over here. So how did you decide who the murderer was going to be?
That didn't really come until late into the book. We were playing with a lot of different concepts, a lot of different ideas. I think we tried to make it very subtle, and I tried to also have each chapter end with, oh, maybe it's going this direction, or oh, could be going that direction. So try to create a little diversion, a little confusion, and yeah.
And so another thing I really liked about the book was that you have some really diverse characters in there. And I know it's hard to write a character that's dissimilar to yourself, but your characters are really realistic. So how did all that diversity get into your manuscript?
Well, I think my co-author Cynthia and I, we really tried to not just be totally a novel about one type of ethnicity. We tried to be very inclusive in what we were doing. So yeah, we just thought, why does it have to be one way? Why not mix it up and have it be someone else? And we did our best to try to be authentic as we could.
Well, and you did, and I think that particularly in the pit, in the police kind of community room there's men and women of all shapes and sizes and ages and ethnicities,
Right.
and sometimes that brief description really helps set the scene and brings the reader into that room. So how did you guys do that?
Again, it was just trying to be all inclusive, trying to not make it very one-sided, and to make it more realistic. I mean, it has to be, the city of Los Angeles is a very diverse city, so we wanted to make sure that that was represented in the novel.
What experts, if any, did you consult for this book?
Well, we did have a detective with LAPD that I spoke with who helped verify some of the information. He's actually the one who suggested that we have the pit, and he said, in some places in Los Angeles, they have signs like at Walmart that say, instead of saying, soap and laundry detergent, it has homicide, drugs, all the little signs showing off. So we tried to make that as realistic as we could too, and he said we did a pretty good job.
Were there things that you wanted to put in the book and didn't?
No, I think we actually put pretty much everything we wanted to. And it's interesting as you touch on that point of learning about artwork. That was one of the main things that I wanted to do, and hopefully will continue to do in future books, is pick up on a country and pick up on the art. So make it so you learn a little something, a little bit of an education. When I went to college, my degree was in education, so I always consider myself an educator to a certain degree. And so I would like to teach a little, surprise a little, and have that little bit of mystery in there as well.
Yeah, and I think too, the character of Hercury, who is also an artist, but one who doesn't seem to want to share her art,
Right.
is very interesting in that she's lost the love of her life, and she's really lost, for a while anyway, her art for and so she's going through this transformation. How did all of that kind of come about?
Well, I think that we wanted not to have her be a part-time police officer, part-time artist. We really wanted that decision to go into law enforcement to be her primary career. But because she had such a history in art, it was really hard to not showcase some of that. So I think in the back of her mind, she has always wanted to be in the art field, but not necessarily public.
Right.
It's a very private thing that she does.
Yeah, and it works for her.
Yes.
It works very well for her.
Right.
Now, getting back to actually the craft of the writing, what would you suggest to maybe somebody who's watching this who might want to write a book? Where would you suggest they start?
I would say if you want to write a book, write a book. I mean, everyone has that, I think, inside of them. Find your passion. Your passion is really the most important thing. Like they say, do what you love. So find what you love and write about that, because I think if you do, it will show through.
That's very true. And I have a friend who writes a realtor-based mystery series based in Maine, and she's never been to Maine, but she's passionate about flipping houses and, you know, that type of thing. And she finds everything she needs to know by Google Maps.
Well, it's very easy to get a lot of information now without having to travel. I've never been to Japan, although I would like to go. But if you do a lot of research, you can pretty much, and talk to people
Right.
who have been there, people who know, you can gather the information you need to write the book without having actually been there.
Right. Now, are you working on something new?
I am.
Yeah?
Uh-huh.
So we get to see another Hercule and Tony
I
mystery?
hope. Yep. I'm hoping that it comes together. I've got a couple of ideas that I'm developing right now.
Well, that's wonderful. I
Yeah.
think as a writer, you always have these ideas in your head, and some pan out and some don't.
Right. My idea, if I were to do the series, would be to continue on with a different country and showcase the artwork of that country. So there's a million different countries that you can develop,
Absolutely.
and artwork from all over the world that is fascinating. Yeah.
Well, Jayne, thank you so much for doing this with
Thank
us
you,
today
Lisa.
and telling us about your fabulous book. This book and all of Cool Titles books are available online at Cool Titles Books, in stores and online everywhere. We hope you will pick up a copy because it's well worth the read. It was a joy to work with you and
Thank
to
you.
edit this.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
And that's cool.